Girl getting home, calling a friend and discussing Yukiko's playful frustrations. The shy girl on the other end seems to quickly reject this, instead confessing playtime with her boyfriend doesn't feel that good. Naturally, with such an issue, there could be only one problem. His sword is too tiny. The size of the sword doesn't matter, only how it's used. That's copium. Try telling that to Guts and that massive blade of his. Feeling a bit conflicted, the shy girl seems reluctant to let go of her boyfriend Ma-kun, and the Gyaru girl teases her, asking her if he's her first boyfriend. Just then, there's a cry from within the house of someone else on the call, and it's revealed a young boy is having issues fitting his sword into a scabbard while showering. He cries, lamenting over the loss of the new toy. Unfortunately for him, he's been granted with an Excalibur so large he can't even play with it with his own hands. Nothing seems to work, and it's hard to believe he can even keep it in his pants. "I'm sorry, Sakura-chan," he whispers before washing it off in the shower. "I'll clean you up before my sister sees." Naturally, he isn't fast enough, and his older sister shows up to snap a picture of his situation. This is a Kodak moment. She cries before taking enough pics to be considered felony harassment if their genders were reversed, and then sending those pictures off in a group chat with her close friends. It was following this incident that she proposed something weird, and it wasn't even marriage. She decided to have all her unsatisfied friends come over and play with her brother. I'm not sure that's how siblings should act, but okay. Soon enough, the moment MC got home from school, her sister and her friends were waiting to catch him, dragging him into a 2-day, 1-night girls' gathering. Termed as a little brother sword appreciation gathering, it's like a cult meeting except that cults often go beyond worship and to copulation with the cult leader. On second thought, it literally is a cult. The Gyaru tells MC's sister her own partner just barely wins, but the sister only replies with a curt, "This isn't fully sharpened yet though." Before you know it, they've gone from just watching his shaking sword to trying to make it bigger. After all, practice makes perfect, and Arthur didn't master Excalibur in a single try. The girls cluster all around him, each trying their best to teach him sword play. The Gyaru uses her melons as target practice for his face. The shy girl lifts her skirt and introduces MC to the concept of underwear, while his sister sits behind him whispering unseemly things into his ear. "Yukiko, this is an actual Godzilla," she says, asking the other girls to compare his sword to their boyfriend's swords. The shy girl is flustered and admits he is bigger, thinking it looks like taking it inside will feel really good. As for the Gyaru girl Nagisa, she has this almost confused look on her face, and she says she will have to take a closer look. She could be a scientist with how closely and affectionately she examines him, as Nagisa immediately gets onto her knees and starts playing with MC's sword. He makes a cute face and she teases him about it, betting him he couldn't fit this inside any of the backpacks of the girls in his class. Our MC admits he doesn't have a girlfriend yet, which is kind of hard to believe what with being surrounded by 3 Wani-chans and whatnot. "Are you kidding me? This thing is too good to be used on just toys," Nagisa declares, sharpening his sword with her fingers in the shape of an O. "Stop moving your hands," MC shouts, which is something you'll hear both guys and girls use while playing in the bedroom. Unfortunately for him again, consent doesn't appear to be a thing here, which is somehow okay if it's a girl doing it to a guy. I'm sure Sato Kazuma would have a few words about this. Nagisa realizes she might end up flicking her switch and asks MC if he'll be okay with her as his first ever woman. Of course, this line is obviously a trap and she's just checking if he's a robot. Because what human man would say no when a girl straight up asks him to do the deed with her? Come on, guys are willing to sharpen their swords using a literal orange. Instead of the expected response, Nagisa instead starts rubbing his sword against her grindstone, telling him she won't let him come home, but if he manages to resist his urges, she might allow him to put his sword back into her sheath. She tries to tease him more, but it's obvious she's having some conflicted feelings about this, wondering how it'll feel when it ends up going inside of her. She removes the covers from her sheath and lets him insert just the tip. As the others look on, bewildered at whether she's actually going to do the deed, she relents a little and lets just the tip of his sword enter. It immediately parts the seas like the holy weapon it is, if you know what I mean. Soon enough, Nagisa gives in to her desires and lets him put the entirety of his sword into her sheath, wondering what it would be like to take it all in. The moment she does this, MC's sister gets really angry while MC himself ends up lost in bliss. "Oi, you there! Why did you just casually take my little brother's innocence?" she shouts. Evidently, she doesn't realize she was the one who invited them over for an Excalibur worshipping party. When Nagisa promises to take it out, there's an explosion and MC can't hold himself anymore. His elephant trunk of a sword reaches its full potential and MC starts moving his hips to the beat. If there were better music, you could say he's beat-sabering his meat. Nagisa starts saying some really non-Christian things, like how incredible his sword feels, how she's never felt anything like this before, and how she feels like she's being filled with warmth and happiness from the inside. Honestly, that's exactly how these acts should feel. Not that I would know anything about it though. As the elevator music plays in the background, MC remarks her sheath feels better to use than any other tool he's found so far. When MC tells her he's about to come home, she tells him it's okay and to pump his Wanni-san's tires full of gas using his monstrous nozzle until she's too tired to continue. I'm not sorry about the pun. Eventually, MC loses his load of cargo and Nagisa lifts off, letting tons of milk spill onto the ground while she licks her lips. While MC's sister scolds the crazed Garu for her behavior, the conversation soon turns to the shy girl who was watching them the entire time, having a crisis in her underwear during that encounter. Nothing happens after that though, and MC is allowed to go and shower, reflecting back on how good of an experience that was. It's called a refractory period, ladies. Unfortunately for him, Yukiko visits him in the bathroom in her towel. As payment for seeing his wonderful sword, she wants to wash his back using her melons. I see this as an absolute win, but apparently, MC is too shocked to comprehend how lucky he is. She compliments his good skin and his girly figure, except for his manly tool. Yukiko tests some fun techniques on him using both her hands and chest, not really caring if her towel slips or if she starts to act really weird. "Can you try putting your sword in my sheath too?" she asks, confessing she never had a good experience with her own boyfriend. Thus, without too much thinking, MC starts doing it with her too. Needless to say, Yukiko discovers the pleasures of swordplay while MC learns to behave more like the typical anime protagonist, spouting all sorts of dirty language and taking the initiative. The bathroom is soon filled with squelching sounds and cute noises, as well as MC relentlessly teasing her about her boyfriend, eventually resulting in her joining his party too. Ever since then, both Nagisa and Yukiko have been coming over to see his swordplay, learning from him and enjoying his Excalibur. "I thought you used to say you would never cheat on Ma-kun," Nagisa teases, watching Yukiko lick MC's popsicle. "That was before I realized just how big MC's sword was, and I could never go back to that pipsqueak." With the two older girls' guidance, MC soon learns just how much of that 7 deadly sin the pair have, and they spend the afternoon playing together until MC's sister comes home, only to realize just how big of a mistake she made introducing them to each other. Though to be fair, it is kind of her fault, so what is she going to do, complain? Nevertheless, I can't fault her for being really embarrassed watching her little brother play with her friends. "Welcome back, Chiaki," greets Nagisa, who is still bouncing on MC's pogo stick. "We're borrowing your little brother," says Yukiko, who's sitting beside the pair with her melons out. Chiaki is obviously quite angry with this and begins to complain. "What are you doing? You told me you had to go first since you're busy with something," she exclaims. "Yeah, as you can see, this is something we're busy with. We're addicted to your brother's sword. Need I say, addiction is bad. It makes you abandon things normal people call important in favor of whatever it is you're addicted to. But as my biology professor would say, copulation is the most important thing to animals. So carry on, dear Wanni-sans." Apparently, Chiaki doesn't quite understand this or can't see what's in front of her, so she asks them what they're doing to her brother. In response, MC cries out, "He's coming home," before the trio makes some cute noises. That's an answer, sure, but did you have to explain it to her like that? When MC pulls out of Nagisa's sheath, she starts making even more cute noises, and her face looks a lot like mine when I finally beat Milenia in Elden Ring. A droplet of MC's ice cream splatters onto Chiaki's face, and Nadhisa asks her if she wants to join them. "There's no way I would," she cries. "Why would I join a 4-person game with my little brother?" This is quite funny, since if I recall correctly, she was the one who snapped pictures of his Excalibur and sent them to all her friends. For some reason, MC looks really disappointed with her response and he watches her leave. In another room, Chiaki fumes at the nerves of those other girls. Deciding to have a play date with somebody else's little brother, she grumbles, "Who do they think they are?" Of course, as she stands there in the changing room, she wonders what it would be like to have MC's sword inside of her sheath. But she knows if something like that makes a mess of her, she'll be lost forever to Alabama. Unfortunately for her, this is an H anime and she's got a really luxurious figure, so there's really no way out. It's kinda like she's stuck in a horror film, only with copulation instead of death. I wonder what it would be like if she went Doki Doki Monica on them. But that's enough shower thoughts for the video. MC barges into the room and sees his sister bare like that, his head immediately filling with cute thoughts as his sister struggles to control her own desires. He asks her to let him use her scabbard, but she tells him to go ask the other girls instead. Unfortunately for Monica, Chiaki, she can't escape this loop as the other girls are already burned out from his swordplay. Somehow gaining 10 levels in strength and assertiveness, MC cabidons Chiaki against the wall and slips his blade home. It's already wet and he deduces she got excited watching the others play together. "There's no way that's true," she protests. "Why did you insert your USB, you idiot?" This angers MC and he immediately shoves it all the way in, making sure the connection between them is secure. It's really tight and narrow, and he has to really apply pressure to get it in. But soon enough, he's showing his older sister his swordplay. She calls him cheeky and warns him not to get carried away after sleeping a few times with the others. Chiaki tells him she's had encounters with more men than years of MC's life, but he only takes it as a challenge. "Phew, you're quite experienced, huh? I won't be holding back then." Every one of MC's attacks against Chiaki's weak spot leaves her feeling dizzy, and her mind goes blank every time his sword finds its mark. I never knew swordplay could feel this way. Seeing her reactions, MC asks her if, out of all the swords she's fought, isn't his the best? Chiaki resolves not to let this go on any further and tries to deny it, giving him the age-old adage of bigger isn't always better, and she tells him to come home quickly so they could move on, as if it weren't a big deal at all. But MC doesn't back down and tells her he's going to make her come home instead, and with a bit of flashy and bangy swordplay, he gives her an ice cream cone so good it should be called a nice cream cone. If you know what I mean. MC's swordplay would probably put even Kirito to shame, and on two fronts too. 1. Kirito and Asuna haven't even done it yet, have they? And 2. Who needs 2 swords when you have just a single large one? You could, if you will, call it sword art opie. Anyways, our previous writer was fired for bad puns, so I hope you don't tell my boss about this. Following MC's complete destruction of Chiaki's sheath while pinned to a wall, he continues by pushing her to the ground and making her come home repeatedly, the opposite of my father who went out for milk. Not to mention, he filled her home with tons of milk. In the end, since her little brother never cared about the time and place, they started doing it everywhere. In her own words, her female instinct was seeking him at all times. Even when their parents were home, they would keep doing it in the bathroom as their parents called to them to eat dinner. Even when Chiaki's boyfriend showed up, the pair kept doing cute things together. When the boyfriend did it with her this time, she wasn't able to feel anything from it. So when the guy left to shower, MC and his sister started playing again. After all this time together, she's gotten addicted to the sheer size of his Excalibur, and he even makes her swear not to do it with anyone else except for him. How the turntables! MC's sister now joined his party, and the 3 girls made the Excalibur appreciation event a regular thing, with the girls each trying to make MC favor them the most. As you can imagine, a whole ton of things keep happening, and the girls' shits are now more than just addicted to his sword. They've become one. From that point on, the girls do it a ton with MC, and thus ends the H anime. Next time I meet my biology professor, I can tell him one more thing about addiction. You can't spell addiction without addict.